And we are live. Here we are. Good morning, everybody. This is Robin from Roaming with Rover. And today we have our very special guest, Gina. And Gina, your name is spelled wrong. Oh, no. What a terrible host.
Oh, that's okay.
I
Don't
will
worry about it.
fix it right now. I can't type on this thing when I've got it set up. There we go. That should be more better.
Aw, well, thank you. No big deal. We all
There
know
we
who I
go.
am.
Now, and that.
Good
There.
morning, everybody.
That's better. That's better. Okay. So, good morning, everybody. This is Robin from Roaming with Rover, and we've got with us the lovely Miss Gina from Gina's TurnPike. Thank you so much for joining us today. I do want to apologize right up front. As most of you know, I'm in the middle of still being sick, and I'm still a little cruddy, and my voice is a little rough. So today may not be as upbeat as you're used to seeing with me. But we are going to soldier on, as it were. But
Bless your heart. I'm so sorry that happened. It's unfortunate, and I'm glad you sound better than you did a couple of days ago. But
yeah.
I know it is very hard to get over and wears you out easily.
It does. That's really been the thing with us, is we're just so tired. I can't. You barely do anything. I mean, I literally took an empty box yesterday and picked up some of my yarn stuff that has just been laying around and picked it all up and stuck it in a box and carried it in the other room. And I was out of breath. I was literally winded. And I'm like, oh man, I'm lazy to start with, but that's a whole new level of lazy.
Yeah, I doubt that. That's hard. It's, it's all in here. So it's, you can't breathe and
yep.
It makes it even worse.
Been drinking the hot tea, and so, I always have a couple of cups going during my videos, but today I've got my Diet Pepsi, which I don't ever get too far from my Diet Pepsi. I got my coffee with my creamer.
Wow.
And then I also have a thing of orange juice.
We have options today.
We have options. Yeah, we have, and there's a chance she's watching, but we have the best roommate ever. And she's just the sweetest little thing. She's our granddaughter's best friend. And when we got the house, like I said, we just got this house last summer, and literally we were in the house 3 days when we went down to Texas. So she lived in here while we were gone. She was our house sitter. And she's just the sweetest girl, and she's so thoughtful. And when she knew we were sick and we were coming home, she loaded up all the stuff in the refrigerator and bought me special tea and cough drops. And she's just a doll, just an absolute doll. And one of the things she did was got me some orange juice. Well, my throat hurt so bad, I wasn't able to drink it for the first few days. And when I saw it in the fridge this morning, I'm like, oh, that sounds wonderful, because it's just so refreshing and it just feels healthy when you're drinking.
Can you taste things? I mean, they say
I do. I did not lose my taste. Now, the medicine that they gave me gives me a real heavy metallic taste in my mouth, but I haven't taken it yet this morning. So
you can enjoy it. Yeah.
So, well, enough about me. This is all about you today, Miss Gina.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So I'm so excited that you were able to come on. It always surprises me. Hello, good morning, Midge. It always surprises me when I invite guests and they accept. They say they'll come on.
I love doing this.
Good. The people that I invite are the people that I most want to get to know more about. And so you have been on the top of my list for a long time. And then sometimes you're afraid to ask people, but you were so sweet. And I don't know why. Everybody has been super nice, and nobody's like, what are you bothering me? Get away from me, lady. But it's always so nice when someone that you look up to agrees to come and visit with us.
Well,
so Miss Gina, tell us how you picked your channel name.
Well, it's a little obvious. I mean, my name is Gina Pike, and, ever since I married my husband, it was his name. So ever since I've married him, we always kind of laugh. You hear that phrase, coming down the pike all the time. You hear it on the news, you hear it everywhere. And I did really think about when my husband was like, you're going to do this. I had like a whole list of names. I'm kind of one of those people that write things out. I make lists, I plan, and I had probably about 60 names.
Oh, wow.
I was just like, and I finally narrowed it down to this. And finally, I can't remember where we went, but then I saw the turnpike sign, and I'm like, that's got to be it. It's just something different. It's, you don't think of a road and knitting at the same time, but it's our name, and it just kind of worked. It kind of stuck. So for us.
And it's a good name because it's easy to remember. It's easy to remember. It's different enough, but easy to remember. I really like that about your name as well. Good morning, Angela. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Angela.
So, Gina, can you tell me why you decided to start a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's really simple. I'll try to make it short. I have a back injury, and it kind of made me slow down a lot in life. I was one of those people, probably, I'm not sure if I ever would have really started it. I've always been interested in it, but I was always working, going 90 miles an hour. I'm kind of one of those people that are outside all the time and running here and there. And the back injury really just caused me to slow down. I had to have some surgeries. So when you're recovering from surgery, you really you have a lot of time. You can only watch so much television.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm going to try it. And so I actually started out with crocheting, and I was really good at crocheting, really horrible at knitting, horrible at it. I just couldn't get it. And I think it was because I bought these metal needles, and everything just kept sliding, and I just couldn't get the tension. And so I just didn't knit for about 4 years. I was just crocheting. And I kept running into all these different patterns that I wanted to make. And I wanted to make this one, but it's knit, and I don't know how to knit. And then I would, so I made myself focus on it for about a year. And I'm like, I'm going to give myself a year. And I'm like, I'm not going to fall back on my crochet, because I always would like try to make a gift, make it really quick. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the knitting. And it finally stuck. I got some bamboo needles that helped me help the yarn grab on a little bit better, and not help me get my tensioning right and my hands right. And my husband was like, if you're going to knit all the time, because it finally got to the point where I'd be like, we'd watch a movie, I'd be crocheting or knitting or something. He's like, if you're just going to do that all the time, you need to turn on the camera. He's a very video type person. He's very, he used to edit videos. He did like videography for weddings and did photography and stuff. And so he's like, turn on the camera. I will help you edit the stuff that you need to do, and, just put it out there and see what happens. And I'm like, it's too saturated. I don't really think I can do it. But he talked me into it. I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And here we are. So that's what he really pushed me to do it. I'm a shy person. So it's a little bit harder for me to turn on a camera. I don't feel like that people really want to hear what I have to say sometimes, but
that's not true.
But it's been fun. It's been very exciting meeting new people, and that share the same interests that you do, and all over the world. People I'm sure I would never meet. And that's been very exciting and rewarding. So. I think I gave you a very long answer. Sorry about that.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So you're in Texas, right?
I'm in Texas, in Northeast Texas.
Okay. And then we just came from Pecos. So you guys are already getting the heat, aren't you?
Yes. It's in the 90s. I think it's going to be 91 today.
Yeah. I think it's already over 100 where we came from. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy. I mean, we've had nothing but cold and rain. I mean, I'm still wearing long sleeves, and I was just telling Gina right before we started, I need to grab a blankie.
Oh my gosh. I'd be like, throw it off me, get that off me. I've got a fan blowing behind me. I got a fan over there, and I got a fan up there, and air conditioning. So yeah.
It's so interesting how different just a couple hours drive, how different it can make in the temperature. We got a few new people popping in. I'll say good morning, Christina and Melanie, Crafty Heart. Thank you all so much. Sorry. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And like I said earlier, my voice is a little rough this morning, and I'm a little
you need to get something to drink.
A little full.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Still recovering from this COVID, and I really appreciate you guys all putting up with me. Good morning, Cheryl. Thank you for popping in. So, Miss Gina, I was looking through some of your older videos, and it looks like right off the bat you jumped into teaching, which is not easy to do. And as a person who's just learning how to knit, good teachers it's very important. So you said that you've really only been knitting for some years, and you pushed yourself to learn. How did you learn? YouTube
videos.
Wow. 100% off of YouTube?
Probably, yeah, all videos really. It was if it wasn't YouTube, maybe I kind of remember like there would be yarn stores. I'm trying to think. I think like Knit Picks. I don't know if they still have it on there, but I think they used to have some videos on there to learn how to knit and crochet. And but it was all videos. My mom and my grandmother never did any type of crafting, so I never grew up with it. Like I said, I've always kind of had an interest in it. I actually was cleaning out my closet, and I actually have some older clothes that are crocheted that I didn't do, but that were from when I bought a long time ago. So I've always had an interest in it and doing it, just never really had time to do it, to sit down and learn and spend to do it. So, but yeah, all videos. Thank you to those people who took the time to create them, because I think that's usually where I go when I don't know something too, is I will go to YouTube and just see what's out there,
It's the level of training available on YouTube is phenomenal. And, there are some good teachers. There's some not good teachers, but there's a lot of very good teachers out there too. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Kathy. I'm not sure if I said good morning to you. Good morning, Nazareth. Thank you so much for popping in today. I also am, I guess I'm learning mostly from YouTube with the knitting as well. I can't remember, and this is this same kind of thing. I've picked mine up over the years half a dozen times, and I can't even remember which way I'm supposed to put the yarn over the needle. And it's ridiculous because I'll I'll knit for half an hour, and then I'm like, wait a minute, which way am I supposed to do this? So I literally have to have a picture up so I can remember which way to throw for, I have no problem remembering for a purl, but for the knit, I never know if I'm doing it right. So if it wasn't for the videos and the pictures and stuff out there, and, written instructions are so hard to follow sometimes.
Yeah. they really can be, because you can get lost in the words. It's the instructions, this item I just finished, the rows, there's 500 stitches, and you got to repeat these little sections, and sometimes they're not the same repeats, and you can just get lost in the words. I think that's why I've migrated to charts, and it makes, the visual part of it makes it much easier than the words you do.
I always thought charts would be easier for that very reason, and yet they scare me. I haven't taken the time to learn how to read a chart. One thing that always confuses me, and I'm just going to come out and ask you. So the instructions will say like asterisk, blah, 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 asterisk. So I know I'm going to repeat whatever's in here, and then it'll go 3 times. So do I end up with a total of 3 of those, or do I do it and then 3 more times? So should I have 3 of these or 4 of these?
It kind of depends on the pattern, but most of the time, if it says 3 times, sometimes it'll say 3 times more, which means you've done it once, and then But if it's 3 times, the way I usually see that, and you can count your stitches to make sure it lines up, it's 3 total times.
Okay. That's one of the things that throws me every time I get one of those. Hey, Valerie, thank you for popping in. Um, for anybody who doesn't know, we've got the delightful Miss Gina here with us this morning, Gina from Gina's TurnPike, and who is, as we all know, an amazing knitter. And just the things that you make are just stunning. What is your favorite?
Thank
It
you.
seems like you make a lot of shawls. Is that your favorite thing to work on?
Yeah, I think it's because, and I've tried to analyze this myself because I'm like, I mean, I analyze myself. It's like, why am I doing this? Because, I would love to do more things that I can, like a top, have wear a knitted top with my
Mm-hmm.
socks and my shawls and my gloves and my hat and, have everything all kind of handmade. But I think I get easily bored with it, because it's the same. The top turns out to be kind of the same shape, and then the shawls. What it is for me is that you can have one that's triangular or circular,
Mm-hmm.
or completely circular, half circle, and they just are so different. Each one's different. That's what I have to. I don't know. I just think I like the variety in it or
Mm-hmm.
something more so than just um, my doing something for my feet that are the same shape. And I get you can put cables and lace on it. And I got to try to convince myself to do that. So I'll do more socks and do more tops. And I am trying to do that this year, but I'm not sure that I'm succeeding at it. I'm trying, but I mean, I've made a couple of tops, but I think I've made more shawls this year than I made
Mm-hmm.
tops.
I'm intrigued with the asymmetrical shawl too, with the teeny tiny little beginning, and then
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like the idea of those. I like the idea that you make it kind of as big as you want as you get
Mm-hmm.
down the end.
I just made one of those. I should have brought it out, but yeah, it started out. You start out with like 3 little stitches, and
Mm-hmm.
then it gets bigger. Yeah.
Well, and I think also plus I need that instant gratification, something I got to see that I'm making progress.
Mm-hmm.
And you start out with nothing and it doesn't take long and you've got a piece this big. And so
Right.
you can really feel like you've gotten a lot done even in just one evening.
Mm-hmm.
How long
That's
does it
true.
take you to make your more intricate shells like that one you've got on your mannequin in the back? Does your mannequin have a name?
Claire, after
Claire.
Outlander. Her name's
Of
Claire.
course.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Um, that one didn't take very long, actually.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
big. It's big, but it's it's like 5 feet tall. It's a circular shawl. But the reason why it didn't take that long is because it was knit on circulars, and you're just knitting on the right side. So there wasn't a lot of purling involved. It
Mhm.
was just really simple knitting,
Oh,
and
nice.
it just went really, really fast. But like something like this one I just finished. This one was a little bit more complicated,
Wow.
and it was big. Here, see if I can. I can't
Oh,
even get
that
the
is
bottom of it.
stunning.
Oh, thank you. This is my latest Rami Hill one, and this is. Let me make sure I get them on the right side. Yeah, I'm on the right side. This is the Lace Lovers shawl. I can't even begin to get it in the thing, but it's really big. I made the tall size, and like it hangs almost down past my knees when I put it
Oh,
on.
see, that's what I would like. Oh, that is so beautiful.
Thank you. And it took longer. It took about, but I was also doing the 2 mystery knit alongs in the middle
Mhm.
of it. I think my time frame was maybe 6 weeks. And I think the hardest for this, but like I said, I had those 2 other shawls in there. And the hardest part probably was this knitted on border, because I
Mm.
think it just, you have to knit this and then attach it to the shawl to bind it off. And that just took, I mean, it was, you know, a long way around the edge,
Mhm.
and it just kind of took forever to get to the center, and then you had to do the whole other side again. So some are just longer than others, and like I
Yeah.
said, this was more complicated stitches. This was a lot of knit stitches, so it just went pretty quickly.
Wow. That is they're all amazing. Just amazing.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
do you
It's
have a
it's 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 not me, it's the designer, trust me.
it is 1000% you,
Mhm.
because I'll tell you what, I can look at an amazing pattern and it ain't gonna look like that when it's done. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will.
Absolutely not.
But I also just
Ravelry,
finished. I
Jackie.
just finished these other 2 shawls too. Maybe we can get to those later, and they'll be posted on my site today. These are the ramen. These are the ones I was making during that
Mhm.
shawl. These are the Rami Hill shawls. I made
The
2 of
mystery
them.
one. Look at
Yeah,
that. Oh,
yeah, that's the
so pretty.
first one, and
Oh
then
my
this is the
gosh.
other one. They're made with a little bit of different yarn, but I just finished those 2 this week. So I finished all 3 of those this week, which was kind of a nice surprise to. And look at the edging she created. It looks a little bit like a crochet edging, but
Yeah.
it's a knitted edge.
It
So
almost looks tatted.
yeah, this looks a lot like a doily. I think
Yeah.
her inspiration was a doily. So yeah,
Mm,
it's pretty interesting shawl. It was a great pattern. Great
just
pattern.
beautiful. Just beautiful.
Thank you. It was fun. I love doing Rami Hill stuff. She has a great way of writing her patterns, and she does text and chart, so you
Mhm.
can whichever you prefer. Her charts are what you see is what you knit. Now there's 2 types of charts. What you see is what you get, which actually just shows you the design of it. And you sometimes, when you're like on a wrong side row, if you see you see a square, you might have to do an opposite type of a stitch.
Mhm.
So it looks like it's a knit stitch, but you got to do a purl stitch because you're on the wrong
Mhm.
side row.
Oh, that
It
would
may,
really confuse
yeah,
me.
it can be very confusing, but she doesn't do charts like that. She does a what you see is what you knit. So if you see that look like a knit stitch, that's what you do. And I kind of like that because I don't have to think quite so much
Mhm.
when you're doing those.
So, okay, so tell me her name again.
Rami Hill. It's
It's R Romney or
Rami.
ROMI.
It's Rosemary, but you'll find her under Rami. It's ROMI, then HILL, Hill.
Okay. She's the one that with the mystery crochet along that you're doing, right? That you just finished?
The knit along. She's a
Or
knitter.
crochet. I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, the one I just spent. Yeah, I'll be
Crochet.
finishing that up today. Yeah, she has
Okay.
those. If you ever see her, she wears these big glasses. They're kind of really interesting.
Yeah, like these great big things.
Yeah,
I put
but
these on, I'm like,
bigger.
oh, I can't see the computer screen with my regular glasses.
Well,
So
those
these are
look
just
really good.
those are my regular ones. And then these are just a pair of readers that I picked up. And I'm like, those are really big. And
Hers
it
are bigger than that, though.
wow.
Yeah, but those look good. Those look really good.
There. Oh, that's
Aw,
not too bad. I thought that might be a little odd, but it isn't, is it?
no, it looks good.
I tend towards a tortoise shell. Hey,
So
Nana,
pretty.
Michelle, thanks for popping in. Handmade Designs. I'm sorry, Handmade, I cannot remember your name. I have no problem telling people I am the worst at names. So you'll probably have to tell me multiple times. And Jinky Crafts. And I thought I saw Miss Linda pop in too, sneak in here a little bit ago when we were oohing and eyeing over your gorgeous shawls. Charlene, Gina, can I knit a beginner washcloth in a week? Yeah, I can knit a beginner washcloth in a week, and you finished 3 Romy Hill shawls.
Aw.
Exactly. I don't know if I could knit a washcloth in a week. I did knit a washcloth a couple of months ago. It was so cool. There's I can never remember her name. There's a gal on, it's not on YouTube, it's just on the internet. And if you look up free
Mm-hmm.
knit washcloths, and she's got 1,000 designs, and it's just knit purl, and so just the opposite knit purl puts the design into, and it's like every flower, every animal, cars and trucks and boats and RVs and cats and dogs and wine glasses, and they're free and they're simple and they're fun. And when I feel like I want to knit a washcloth, that's what I do, is go get one of those. And I still don't know if I could get it done in a week.
Yeah, you could. You could. I love those. I've done a lot of those too, especially like for gifts. Those are such a
Mhm.
nice gift to make, and
Wonderful gift, yeah.
put with some soap,
Yep.
handmade soap, and just
Mhm.
I've given that to my parents many times, and I love that you can find a lot. I mean, pretty much any design you want. I've
Anything.
even found like my stepfather's like an OU fan. I found like Oklahoma University stuff.
Mhm.
It's kind of
Mhm.
insane, but you can.
Well, and I also like hers because she does use a chart, and it must be the kind you were saying, because you literally follow on and it shows you knit, purl, and it's
Yeah.
very easy to follow. So simple chart, I guess I can do, but
Yeah.
some of those, and I did follow a chart when I made Connie's candy cane hat.
Yeah, for color work. Yeah,
Yeah,
she does a lot of that.
boy, I'll tell you what, my hat, because I'd never done that before and I didn't know about stretching the stitches out while you're making it.
Hmm.
It was like this. There's no
Oh,
way a human could ever wear that thing. It turned out, the chart and the design and everything turned out perfectly. It was all operator error on that thing. I do want to make other ones. I got one of her ones with a pumpkin, or I guess it was an apple. I don't know,
hmm.
something like that. And well, I picked up one of my lovely listeners told me to, after every stitch, to stretch it out.
Yeah.
I knit really tight. She says, no, you got to stretch that out. You got to give it some room
Yeah.
to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important in color work and slip stitching and stuff like that. Yeah, you have to give it the opportunity. See, because you're gonna, want it to fit or block it, or
Hmm.
yeah, you've got to can't be too squished up
Yeah.
on there.
And it was very tight, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I love seeing the um, and you probably get the same feeling when you're doing those intricate shawls, as you like to see the design grow
Yes,
and build and bloom in your work. It's so
definitely.
satisfying. So
Definitely,
satisfying.
definitely. I love seeing like the ones I just finished. You could see she had a bunch of leaves in there, and she really
Hmm.
did a great job of like doing the well here. She did a great job of edging them, like the stitches, like this one. I don't know if you can see it, but how
Hmm.
the stitches went along the edge just
Yeah.
to frame it, and
Yeah.
it just, yeah, it's a lot of fun when you can see. Oh, that's a leaf. Oh, that's a that's a flower. That's a it is a lot of fun when you can see that take place. And
And you work with a lot of independent dyers too for your yarns. I noticed the yarns that you often showcase are
mhm.
independent dyers. Do you have a favorite, or you just?
Yeah, I love Diana Dye, and because I think I love her because well, a lot of times we do a lot of stuff with wool, which I do love wool. Both of these
Mhm.
shawls I just showed you were wool, but she has a lot of fibers that are like not wool, and so it's just a different feel. That she's got some flax and silk, and she
Ooh.
has linen blends. She has
Mm.
bamboo, and they're just a little bit maybe for better for warmer weather. Maybe living in the South, it caused me to
That's
look at
true.
that. And but I also like the look of them. Sometimes they have a for shawls they have a nice sheen. This one is made with one of her yarns. It's hard to see with my webcam, but they have
Mhm.
a really nice sheen on the yarn. It's a bamboo yarn, and it's just really pretty. And I think it just adds an extra little ting
Mhm.
to a shawl. And I haven't made a top with her yarns yet. I have one that I want to make with some of her yarns. I'm not sure how it will wear, but I do want to try. I think it's a flax silk blend that I want to try. And
That's
but I do love other dyers too. It's not. I mean, I love that her yarns. It's hard to pick just one. I
it
mean, you
is.
know what
There's
I
so many
mean?
wonderful ones.
There's so many people doing yarn these days, and just yarn bases and colors, and people do it a little bit different, and it's just amazing. It's a great time for us as knitters and
Mhm.
crocheters because we can pick and choose and go
Oh,
all over the place to find yarn. It's not hard to find yarn for
mhm.
sale.
No, we have access to everything
Yeah.
imaginable. It used to be that, when I grew up, it was going to Kmart, not even Walmart. We had Kmart, and going to their yarn section and grabbing some Red Heart and going home. And that
Hmm.
that was the option. And probably there was yarn stores with some fancier yarns, but they were certainly out of my range. And I had to save up to buy my Red Heart. and probably it was $1 a skein back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the idea of spending $10 or $15 on a good skein of yarn is just, it wasn't going to happen. And to be honest, it never happened until probably 2 or 3 years ago would I have started to spend more money on stuff, because most of the things I make, I consider to be utilitarian.
Mm-hmm.
And I make a lot of blankets. And
Yeah.
so my blankets they're big and they're fluffy and they're going on the floor and the dogs are laying on them. And I'm not buying $30 a skein yarn to make something
Right.
like that with. And so it wasn't until I started making some more specialty pieces that I started buying the nicer yarns.
Right.
And
You want to tailor it to your project. I mean, I don't use the $30 skein yarns for blankets. I'm
no.
using like a blanket I'm working on now. I'm using a Lion brand woolies that I
Mhm.
had in my stash. Great yarn. I have some, I love Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn.
Mhm.
Their line is really nice. I have some of that I like to use for blankets too. It's, you use
Mhm.
so much of that. You can't afford
Oh,
to
you
make a
still need
$400 blanket. Like you
right?
said, that, uh, you need to be able to clean easily, and who you don't know if somebody might have a dog on it,
Mhm.
or throw up on it,
Right?
unfortunately, or
Right.
whatever. It needs to be easy to clean.
Yeah. Yeah. I picked this up. We just got back from Alaska. The one day I got to go shopping before I got sick, and it's
Ooh.
from, let's see, the Alaskan Yarn Company.
Oh,
And it
how
was hand dyed, machine washable wool, and it's 100% superwash merino. Um, and this is a 5. Wait, it's so pretty, isn't that pretty? Can you
it's
tell?
gorgeous. It's
The
got
colors are so,
greens and
yeah, and the blues, it was
rust.
those blues that caught me. And
Oh,
it's much, much prettier than what it showed there, maybe than what
that
it
is
showed on
gorgeous.
camera. Let's see if nope, it
What are
is
you
not.
gonna use? What are you gonna make with it? Do you know?
Well, I actually forced myself to pick out a pattern before I bought the yarn because I know how I am. I am going to knit a hat,
All
um,
right.
because this is $30 skein yarn.
Mhm.
When I was there in the shop, I found there was the cutest little shop up there. And talk about specialty yarn. She has dog yarn. She's got earmuffs made out of dog hair yarn, and they were so warm. They were so warm. I wanted one of those. It was only $45. I should have bought it.
Is it
Um,
like one of those Alaskan dogs, the white
yeah.
dogs?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. How
And so
nice.
this lady, she makes the yarn, combs it, spins it, dyes it, and then makes the products out of it. But she had yarn made out of white hare, HARE, so rabbit, white rabbit, and white fox.
How soft. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
so soft, $100 a skein.
Yeah.
And she had yarn made out of muskox,
Wow.
$275 a skein.
Ouch.
I didn't even get to touch that one. She let me touch the fox. She wouldn't even let me touch the other one because she knew I was
Oh,
just
wow.
messing with it.
Wow.
But
That's
she had
crazy.
a hat made out of this, and I says, I want a pattern where this is going to be enough. One skein is going to be enough to make it. And so she just gave me the name of the pattern. It was just on Ravelry. So she gave me the name of the pattern. Although, as a rule, most hats you can make out of one skein, I find, with knitting. With crocheting, not as
Absolutely.
much.
And you
Sometimes,
can make that for your next cruise when you
yeah,
guys go back.
yeah, because we're going back in the fall,
Yeah.
actually. So it was so warm on this cruise. I never even wore a hat. We never even wore our coats, but it was very unseasonably. It was in the 60s and 70s everywhere we went. And they're like, yesterday it was raining and cold. Today it's beautiful. So it was like that everywhere we went on this cruise. So as far as that goes, it was fantastic. Yeah, it is behind glass, Debbie. Have you been to that store? Yeah, she keeps it. She keeps
Yeah,
it in.
Debbie's in Alaska. Yeah. Hi,
Oh,
Debbie.
so you've probably been to that store. It was glorious. I was in heaven in there. But I did get some beautiful, beautiful stuff there.
Oh, that's good. I've never been on a cruise. Do you get seasick?
You
Do you feel
can.
it?
And we've been on many, many cruises, and typically I do not get seasick. I've been sick twice
Hmm.
on cruises, and one was this last one. And traditionally, a Hawaiian cruise. Well, I got stuck on my Hawaiian cruise too. But
Wow.
traditionally, an Alaskan cruise, that first day when you leave, if you're living Seattle or Vancouver, that next day, you're in open seas and it tends to be rough there. And I've never talked to anybody where they said, "Oh no, it was a piece of cake that day." It is not. That day is tricky. But you know it's going to be, so you take your Dramamine. I take it when I go to bed, and then I take it again when I get up. And I did not do that this time on the way up, but I did on the way back. I took my Dramamine the night we went to bed, and I didn't have any problems at all. Mister got sick, and that's the only time he's ever been seasick, was that one day. So you just kind of count on it and prepare for it. I bought the seasick bands, the C bands this time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that made any difference, but I wore them, and he was puking and I was just kind of queasy.
See,
Like,
I've been out. I went deep
that
sea
was it.
fishing once,
Mm.
and I got so sick. So I've always been like, I don't think I can do a cruise, because I was really sick.
Mm.
So
And that's on a small boat, right? These things are,
it was.
floating ship. So you can, and then when we got the COVID and they put us in the basement,
Oh my
they put us
gosh.
down on the first floor, and there's much less movement down there. That's one of the clues when you're picking a room, you want to pick center and low, so you know you don't get as much of that movement. And so, but yeah, that's the only time. And then one other time when we were going to Hawaii, and same kind of thing, center and low, we had rough seas, and there was a place, and it was up on the very, very, very top of the ship, and I can't remember what they call it, but bird's nest.
Okay.
And it was like a lounge.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting up there reading, and I mean, you could see forever. Well, the very top, you're going like this. And I got queasy that day. And but I shouldn't have sat up there or been prepared. And that's it. And we've taken many, many, many cruises and been through lots of storms. And it's the only time we've been queasy at all. So just get those C bands and give it a go. They're fabulous. I know people love them or they hate them. We love them. Okay. Say hi to everybody. Lorelai, hi. Hey, Froggy, how are you? Debbie. There you go. We do a day cruise. Go visiting. Who have I missed? I think I managed. If I missed you, if I didn't say hi to you, hi to everybody. And I do this. I wave when people come in, like you can actually see me. Hi, I'm waving at you.
They can see you.
So, what have you got on the horizon?
Well, I was going to be working on a top. And this is a top I've started before I started the Romney Hill stuff. And I just kind of threw it to the side. I didn't have much time to work on it, but I picked it up. But the problem is I found another mystery shawl knit along that's going to be happening starting next week. And so I'm probably going to do that. And it's because the lady, Helen Stewart, she designed this one, and she designed a bunch of other ones I've done, is doing it. And she hasn't actually done a mystery shawl knit along in a couple of years. So I'm kind of like, I want to do it because she hasn't done one in a while. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be doing that. That'll be starting the 7th. And it'll be 5 weeks of clues. So over 5 weeks. But I'm going to try to work on this top as well. Doing the 2 shawls and finishing up the lace lover shawl. That was probably why I didn't have much time for this. But I'm hoping I can do this top. I have a ton of whips I need to work on, but they just kind of, and I have like 4-year-long projects I need to work on, but I haven't really touched them in about 3 months. So those are the kind of things. I do have a live show coming up on Saturday with one of the independent yarn dyers, Amanda Hope. She's going to be on my show, and she's got a nice prize that she's going to be giving away on Saturday. That's Saturday. And so I'm excited about that. And I wanted to do sock camp, but I just don't think I'm going to have time to do sock camp this year. I know a lot of people are. I know like Linda Simpson's doing sock camp, and probably Kim Crochets and Knits. A lot of people are doing socks this year. I just haven't had. I
You
need
just
to.
don't want to.
I guess that's really it. I guess I always find a shawl to make. And with the Rami Hill stuff, like this one is her Lace Lovers Club. So I bought into that this year. So I have 2 more of those coming. There was 3 of those this year. And she sends the pattern and the yarn. And so I've got that. I know in a couple of months, I'll have another one of these to do. And then a couple months later, have another one. So I kind of didn't really leave much room for socks.
You know, I just heard about that sock camp thing, and I don't quite understand how it works.
I'm not exactly sure either. I know people join in, and I think they put you on teams, but I don't know how you get credited for like your own socks that you make. I mean, maybe it's a team total or something. I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of it either. I just know last year was my first year to hear about it, and I thought that would be fun. I'm going to do it. So I made my first pair of socks last year, but then I haven't made any more, and I'm kind of scared I'm not good enough to do something like that because it's kind of like
nobody wants me.
I made one pair. And my poor husband wants a pair, and I've got the yarn over here sitting here waiting for him, but I've measured his feet. I just haven't cast it on. Poor guy.
They're always the last to get anything.
Yeah, he is. Poor guy. He puts up with it.
Yeah.
And he actually wants a pair. At first, I was like, I'll make you a pair of socks. And he's like, oh, no. And then he saw the socks I made, and he's like, hey, I think I want a pair of socks. So I need to make him a pair of socks.
Yeah, you could probably whip that out in a couple of days.
I doubt it. Again, the shawls are much easier for me because I'm used to it. But the socks, I mean, you got to get the gusset and the stitches and I'm not that great either with magic loop. You know, I like to do the magic loop method. So
I have not learned that yet.
I have to make sure I have to kind of think, okay, pull this one up, pull this one out. You know, it's I hate DPNs. I mean, I like them for doing small things, but I'm just not a DPN person. Although I think they make a really nice looking sock and other things. But you got to be I'm not really great with them. I'll just it's on me. I'm just maybe, I'm just not good at them. They probably would be great if I spent time with them.
Now, Linda, she's doing a ton of socks right now. And I think she's using cable. I think she's using a cable. I think she's using a small cable.
I saw like a 9-inch circular.
Yeah.
I think I just saw a picture of hers on Instagram where she was doing some DPNs too.
But she's good with those DPNs, but I cannot remember. Hey, Roseanne and Teresa, thanks for popping in. I was supposed to have started a sock class the day after we got back from our cruise instead of being sick. And so I would be knitting my very first pair of socks as we speak, but I had to postpone that. And I was very excited to find an actual class with an actual person. And, show me, because that's the other thing. I don't even know, the things say measure the biggest part of your foot. Well, is that like around the ball of my foot, or is that around the instep of my foot?
It's usually like right below your toes, like where
so it is the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. It's like telling my instructions need to be so specific because I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. So
they need a picture, measure this part of your foot.
That's what I want.
That's what they should do.
That's why I like the videos.
Exactly. Me too. I like to see it exactly too. I like to see somebody do it and then try it a couple of times. And I mean, I'll rewind a video and watch it 5 times.
Over and over and over.
Yeah. I like that. And you should look at the Crazy Sock Lady because she does her tutorials. Yeah. That's what she's doing.
That's what I'm going to do. And the vanilla sock, I just downloaded that pattern.
That's what I did. That was my first pair of socks, were the vanilla socks with the self-striping yarn.
I bought some of that. I can't remember what company. It's not Lion Brand. The Loop, not the Loop. The Fruit.
Oh, Premier.
Premier, yeah, the Premier Fruit sock yarn. So
super
I bought
cute.
the watermelon.
Those are cute.
I thought, that way it would be interesting, pretty yarn, but not expensive if I mess it up. I'm not
Right.
using my $30 skein. Look at this beautiful yarn that my roommate got for me.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
And it says it's sock weight, but it seems thick. I thought the sock weight was even thinner than this. I was thinking more like crochet thread.
Yeah, that looks pretty. Let's see. Let's see if I have one to compare
Isn't
it
this
to.
gorgeous?
Yeah, this is a DK. It looks kind of like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, you know what?
What's the name? What's the brand on that?
Sophista Sock.
Sophista Sock. Wow, that's pretty.
It is gorgeous. She's out of, I'm sure she's out of Seattle, Washington. My little roommate went to Seattle a couple of weeks ago, and she brought this back for me.
That's nice.
They've got Pike Place Market down there. It's this huge outdoor market, and
that's my market.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pike.
Oh yeah, Pike Place. Oh yeah.
I have a market. I have Pikes Peak.
You're good. You got all kinds of stuff.
I know. We're just all over the place on the turnpike. Just being silly. I'm being silly. That's what I'm saying. We hear her name all the time.
Hey, Saf. So Dinky says she uses the 9-inch needles, 2 times cable needles. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
She's doing a longer needle, like the 2 times the cable links to do like a magic loop kind of.
Oh, okay. So when you do a magic loop, aren't you basically splitting the number of stitches in half with the cable pulled down in between? Doesn't that cause a lot of strain on the
it's not supposed to, and you have you have to kind of tighten it like the first couple of stitches to prevent the laddering. I got laddering. I've done 1 pair and I got laddering, so I'm not an expert on it.
That's why I don't think, because I've had to do that when I didn't have the right size. In fact, I basically did that when I made that hat for Connie, because I couldn't find the right size needle anywhere. And I felt like it was although in hindsight, that would have been good on that project to stretch those stitches out. But I just kept thinking it's going to stretch this yarn. It's going to stretch these stitches out. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I was taking proper care of the yarn. So I was afraid of it. But that's, when I see people say that's what they're doing. And I also like the idea of people doing 2 socks at once, so you don't get second sock syndrome.
That's what I want to do. That's why that's what I really want to do is 2 at once.
I feel like that's, and also to help keep track of, what you're doing.
Keep it exactly the same. If that's, if that's something, I'm kind of like, for me, I'm not so particular. I don't really have to have everything match exactly, because I'm kind of free, I don't know, free flowing, I guess. It doesn't, but some people, they really want everything to line up all, they put them side by side. They want the stripes to match up on both of them. And I get that. I mean, I get that. And that's fine. But yeah, I think it would be easier to do that if you did them, like you said, side by side. Make sure you can keep it,
okay. Make
sure they look exactly alike. You're knitting that row, knitting that row. I did look at it initially. I thought about trying it, and I got really confused with the cast on, because you got to cast on the stitches here, cast on stitches here, and then you got to come back, and you're still working on that first sock, and then you got to get the second sock. And I was like, okay, I'll do it a little bit later, because it looked really complicated.
So she says she's using 2 lots of cable needles on a sock. Divide the stitches between them.
Oh, she's making it so she can expand the sock and put it on her foot. So it's not like if you got a 9-inch circular, you can't put your foot in that unless you have really, really tiny feet. She wants to try it on as she goes along so that she can make sure it fits. She must be doing toe-up socks so that she can try it on her foot, because that's the other part of it too, is you got to measure your foot so you know how long to make that bottom part after you do the heel. The socks I did were top down, the 1 pair. So you had to measure your foot, and you had to knit for my foot was, I think it was 8 or not 8 inches. I think I had to knit that part from after the heel turn and gusset. But if you're doing toe up, and she's
You can
doing that
measure as you
cabling,
go.
she can try it on as she goes
Yeah.
along. And when she gets it to the right length, she can turn it, do the heel, and keep on going up the cuff.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Boy, I sound like I know what I'm doing, but I don't.
Look at you.
I don't know anything what I'm doing on the socks.
That's too funny. That's too funny. And that's why we have each other, because there's always somebody in here who knows the answer to my silly little questions, because it's not me.
It's not me either. It's not me.
Just, what is your favorite needles to use?
Probably Chigu, like the
Yeah.
lace needles, the red lace. I have a ton of
Mhm.
them. I want to get the set that that you can get the interchangeables, but I just have really just done a lot of like these, just
Mhm. Yeah,
But
I
they
have
just
one pair of those.
the points on them are great, and the cables are just awesome. I've tried the Addies before, and
Mhm.
I don't know if it's just me, but I'm fighting with the cord. It doesn't stay smooth, and it's twisting my knitting, and it's frustrating to kind of move your knitting along on it. And so I mean, the tips are nice on them, but the cords for me, I don't really like them.
Yeah, and it makes all the difference.
Definitely does. But I have those. I have knit picks. I have Denise interchangeables. I think I started with Denise, the plastic.
I have a set of those out in storage somewhere. I'm afraid that because I bought them years ago, and the quality of knitting needles have come a long ways, and so I don't know how it's going to compare to the new ones. And I'm worried that my cables have sat in storage for so many years that they're not going to be as pliable. I'm afraid I may have ruined them. But yeah, I remember saving up to buy that set. I was so excited when I finally did.
Me too. Yeah, that was the first set of interchangeables I had. So
yeah.
But I have a lot of different kinds, but I just usually like to gravitate towards those if I have them. Like sometimes I have too many needles on projects on needles, and I just have to use what I have.
Yep.
Knit picks. Here we go.
Yeah, and I did just get a set of knit picks, which I haven't used yet. Well, I did. I used that on Connie's hat, but I haven't done any. I haven't knitted anything since I was on days off in March. I haven't done much of anything.
Well, and you've been on vacation. I mean, you need
and
to
moving
take a vacation.
twice.
Right, and moving. That's right. And you got to get over this illness. But I was going to ask you, did you take stuff with you to do on your cruise, or did you just?
I did take stuff with me.
You did?
I took this. Dig it out here. You can see I got a really long ways on this shawl.
Oh, how pretty though! Look at the sparkle on that yarn.
Love this. And this is just plain old big twist.
That's pretty.
It's called Big Twist Twinkle. And it was super expensive. I think it was $4.50. And so, and you know me, they were on sale. It was kind of an odd sale though. It was buy 3 get 2 free, and I wanted 6, not 5.
Right.
So I got 3 in this color because I wasn't 100% sure how much I was going to need, but I knew 3 would be plenty. And then I got 2 in. I can't reach it. I got 2 in a beautiful burgundy with the silver through it.
Oh.
And I thought if it wasn't quite enough, I would do, because it's going to be. Is this the width of it? Yeah, this is the. Oh, I hope it's going to be wide enough. I think this is the width. It doesn't seem like it's enough. Yeah, I guess it is. And so it's going to be, however tall I make it. And I thought with that burgundy, if I run out, I can take this silver and put like a couple 3 inches on the edge of it, and that would be gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do that. But yeah, so I got it cast on. I got my foundation row done, and I think 1 row, and that was it. And then a couple of night before last, I picked it up and put a couple of rows on it. But this is supposed to be a crochet along for May. Yeah. With
It happens. It's no,
Yeah, with Trish, the Purple Yarnivore, and
Mhm.
her and Cynthia are doing that kind of battle thing, and they're using Darla, the crafty yarn owl. They're using her patterns. So you picked a pattern, and then at the end of the month, whoever got the most people doing their pattern, that person wins. And I don't
Oh.
even know which ones had picked this pattern, but it was funny because as soon as I saw that twinkle yarn, I'm like, that's the one I want to make. And then the other one was a little shrug thing, which was funny because when I saw Darla make it, I'm like, oh, I want to make that shrug. And so I had planned on making both of them, but yeah, that didn't happen. That's how my world works. I've always got way more things planned and in the works. Yeah, and I can see that you work on multiple things too.
Oh yeah, I probably have 20 or 25 whips by now that
I
are
love
just
it.
all over the place, and
I
it's
love it.
bad. It's bad, but I'll get to it. I mean, like some of these, like this one, I think I started last year. A couple of these are like a couple of years old, but
Right.
I'll get them done, and eventually, I'm not going to rip them up just because. Like one of the things I'm really kind of embarrassed about this one, but I think I'm on the bind off, and I think it's been in a bag for a year, and I just need to just bind it off, and I just it'll be done. It's a shawl. It's a lace shawl,
Oh,
and it needs to be done, but I just haven't bound it off yet.
really? That's all you've got left to do?
Yeah, I just got to bind it off, and it'll be finished. But I haven't done it. I
So
need
how
to
long
do
is
it.
the cable on that thing?
Let's see.
It
Probably
looks
a 60
forever.
inch. It's
Oh my
probably a 60
gosh.
inch.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's. See, this is what it's looking like.
Oh
You
my
see it.
gosh.
But I haven't touched it.
So then what do you do? I mean, you make a lot of shawls. What do you do with all your shawls?
Well, somebody
Because
asked me
it's 100
that.
degrees where you live.
Yeah, somebody asked me that recently. I've donated a lot, like to fundraisers. Like I
Mhm,
did a lot to Daigo Crochets
mhm.
fundraisers. Um,
She
and
does wonderful stuff.
I like these two. I'm going to be giving one of these away on my channel. I've been giving some away. My mom has a whole bunch of them, but I've given away
Mhm,
to family, sister-in-law,
yeah.
friends. I've given some to friends, some people I've met on here. Like I've given Doris, Rose Cottage Studio, a
Mhm.
couple. Um, just mostly giveaway, but there are a few. Like I've kept this one. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this one yet. It's
That's
so
gorgeous.
long, but so I have to
Yeah.
make sure it's somebody who can, appreciate it's
Oh,
kind of
the
big,
work. Yeah.
but it's somebody who wants to wrap up in something. My
Mhm.
mom is not the recipient of that. She likes small little wrap things,
Oh, the little caplets.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I've got to figure that out if I'm gonna keep that or not. But I think I give more away than I keep. But there
Mhm.
are a few that I keep. There's a few.
There's a few. Yeah, that's my problem. Every time I see a pattern for a shawl, I go, that's pretty, but it needs to be a little bigger. It needs to be a little bigger. And sometimes because I don't know what I'm doing, I don't I'm afraid that like something that intricate, I wouldn't know how to expand it to make it bigger. So I tend to put a border on everything. And we'll just add 3 inches of border to
It's
it.
not a bad idea to do though.
I do that. I do almost everything I make. Yeah. And I have to remember the person I'm making this for is a teeny tiny little lady. And so I have to remember that's why I'm like, is this big enough? For if it were me, I'd want it another 2 feet longer, but
Right,
for her
right.
it'll be just right. And
Yeah,
then
my mom
one
is
more
small
thing.
too. I have to do that as well because she's very fit lady.
Oh, that's nice. Sorry, I'm gonna mute my sound and have you talk for a minute so I can
Okay, okay.
cough
Let's
up some of
we
this
haven't really.
crud in my throat.
Oh, let's see. We have KB Fibers coming in and Samantha. Hi, Samantha. It's nice to see you and KB. And we have Sherry joining us. Good morning, Sherry. Hi, how are you doing? And Jennifer, Jen Reese. Sorry, Jen. It's nice to have you here. How's everybody doing today? And Teresa is joining us. Hi, Teresa. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks for saying hi to everybody. I appreciate that. Yeah, just so you guys know, if you get invited on my show, there's always a chance that you're going to have to take over duties at some
Oh.
I have had, I've had, I lost my sound in the middle of one, and my guest took over, I lost my whole computer, just went black. And my guest had to take over. And while I scrambled to find a different way, I thought I had lost my entire life, but it was just my computer battery had died. I had it plugged into the computer, but it had come just a little bit out of the wall, so it wasn't charging. I had, when I was working, we had an emergency, and I had to go outside and deal with my emergency while Daniel, that was on Daniel, so he took over. So
you just never know what's going to happen.
That's the joy of lives. You never know what's going to happen.
I've had to exit out and come back before. And, talking about computers, this computer that I'm on right now would not start on Sunday. I spent all Sunday trying to fix it, and my husband had to wipe it. I think Windows 11 was causing it to choke, and it finally, I lost everything except for the stuff. I had a lot of stuff backed up on it, but I lost the stuff that I hadn't backed up. Like I had some movies or some videos I was in process of making, and they're gone.
All gone.
All gone. But that's okay. I'm just happy the computer works. That's all that I was really worried about. I'm like, I'll redo some of that other stuff, just as long as it works, because, when it doesn't work, it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Now what are you going to do? It's awful. We are so dependent on our electronics anymore. It is absolutely sad. And, even people talk about patterns and not being able to read patterns. And I'm like, a few years ago that you couldn't have done anything. You couldn't have crocheted. You couldn't have knit. If you couldn't read a pattern, what are you going to make? And now you just sit and watch somebody do something. And even this shawl that I'm making, Darla just walks you through it. And what I do, because I'm very visual, I think, and also I need notes. I need lots of notes. So when I'm going to do a pattern, I watch it a couple of times, and then I write out the whole pattern. So in my little chicken scratch, and the problem with that is, so there's my pattern all written out. The problem with that is, like, there's one thing on there that I'm like, oh, where am I supposed to put that stitch? So now I have to go back to the video and make sure I'm doing it exactly right. Oh, there goes my light again. My lamp light fights with my daylight on the computer. I've got to figure out a different lighting system. There's a lot to this.
There's a lot to it.
It's very intricate.
There's a lot to it, and you don't think about it, because it's, you can't, I actually have a webcam that my husband bought for me over my webcam on my computer, because my webcam on my computer is not that great. And so I have to plug in a webcam to do this. And then I have my headphones so that I can speak, and you guys don't hear all the extra stuff. If I don't have this, you'll hear my fan on my computer, and it's a little bit kind of annoying. So, but you need this. And then, like you said, the light, and like some days it's overcast. This is all natural light, because I have like I have 6 windows right in front of me.
Oh, nice.
But some days it's not so great, because it's not, it's overcast. It was a little overcast today, but I have a light box over there that I got to turn on if it's not such a great lighting situation, or if it's in the evening and it's getting dark. There's a lot to it.
And it's in every one of my videos. And it's like, no matter what I do, I've got the glare on my glasses, and I finally just go, well, you're here to watch me talk.
I've got glare on that sign. Yeah. It's just,
you can't win. You can't win. But Lorelai, pattern books. Back in the day, I have checked out so many books from the library and copied down patterns, and then found out there's a mistake in it. And even patterns now that you buy, that's one of the things. I know a lot of people don't care for Ravelry. I have not heard why. I'm sure there's very good reasons. The reason I like Ravelry, there's a couple of reasons. Everything is in one place. When I buy a pattern, it's there. I have bought patterns from Etsy and never been able to download them, never been able to, and they don't keep them. There's not like a place where all my patterns are. So I don't know if I've already bought this from this designer or not. And so now I'm downloading it somewhere on my phone, and I have no idea where it is.
Right.
So with Ravelry, everything's in one spot. I can easily search my patterns. I can flip through, and when a change is made, it's automatically updated in the pattern right there. So I don't have to worry about keeping track of that stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
agree. I'm a big Ravelry user because of, I mean, I think I know why some people don't like them and that they have some political things, but I just
oh
try to ignore that, and
yeah,
just because I use them for, I mean, I use it as a tool. The tools that
right,
are there, whether it's for your yarn stash, or looking at yarns that you have in your stash, what projects have been made with it,
yes,
what something for
yes,
inspiration. um,
hmm
or even to the point where if there is a yarn I have and maybe I don't have enough, I've even gone on and bought yarn from people, like a couple of extra skeins, especially if they have a
hmm
similar dye lot that it will work with mine. I've gone and talked to them. They've sold
hmm
stuff to me. I've sold stuff to other people. It's,
yeah,
that's, and then the patterns. So I've used it a lot in that regard,
pattern,
and try to ignore all the other stuff that goes on with it.
yeah.
I don't care for that stuff anyway. So
No, just let's just talk about yarn and nothing else.
right.
Um, I especially like that I can, like you said, I have, some place will have a screaming deal on yarn and I don't know what to do with it. So I
Mhm,
go on there and start looking up, okay, how much of this do I really need to buy?
mhm.
Bye, Frog. We'll talk to you later. Um,
It's good to see you.
um, I I find that to be so incredibly helpful. Because it's like I'll see something on clearance for $2 or $3 a skein. Do I need to buy 6 or do I need to buy 20?
Mhm,
What can I? And because I'm a big girl, I can't make a sweater out of, the thing will say, you need 5 skeins of yarn. No, I probably need 3 times that. And my gauge is always wrong anyway. And
me too.
so, yeah, but I and what's this weird variegated stripy self coloring? What's it going to look like when it's done up? Because sometimes they do not look good, and I have a really hard time with the mandala yarn. I love the yarn,
Mhm.
but it drives me insane when it's like hot pink and then yellow and it's like boom, right here, there's your break. I can't do that. They have to blend.
Mhm.
Give me a nice ombre any day over the self striping, and I'll see somebody with a beautiful shirt and I'll go right to that spot where it changed color, and I can't not see that. And so I have to be really, really careful and look and see how those things work up, or I just won't use them. I just won't. And some people, it doesn't bother them in the least. They love all the colors. My mom was like that. And in fact, I made her a shawl out of that. So the last thing I made her before she passed was that beautiful, bright colored shawl out of that
Mhm.
mandala yarn with all her favorite colors in it. And I just went to town on it, and I, I wear it now and again because it was, a gift I made for my mom. But when I see those color changes, it hurts my brain. I just can't do it.
And it's a great thing to see that how it will work up.
Mhm,
Before you go buy it, and then you don't. Oh my gosh, I don't really like how this looks.
mhm.
So yeah, I use that all the time.
Yeah.
When
And I
I'm
know
looking
some
for.
people will cut them up in color control, which is kind of a good idea if you need 5 or 6 colors and don't want to buy 5 skeins, which
Mhm.
I have had that problem. And now I've got, 5 skeins with 10 yards of yarn that I needed out of it. That's a great way to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but that seems like a lot of work
It is
too.
a lot of work. That's why I made that face. I'm just thinking a lot of work
Mhm.
to do all of that. I was going to do that on I was talking about a project. I think it was the Brighten Up Cow, and she needed 5 colors. And I was like, how about if I just broke this gradient up? And
Mhm.
and somebody in the Ravelry chat said, you don't want to do that. I've done it before. It is a lot of work. And I'm like, okay, 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 okay. Maybe I don't, but I
Mhm.
can see where she's coming from about managing all of that. I was just thinking I would just snip right there
Mhm.
but I don't know.
Yeah. So you do most of you. It looks just from what you've been showing me, it looks like the majority of your shawls are single color, or
Um, no, like some of them are multicolored. Like this one, these are 2 colors. This is, but the way that
right.
it's designed, it
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
a definite, one
Mhm.
color, 2 color. Like this one,
Yeah.
well, this one's got more interaction. Uh, I know which one. I'll show you. This one definitely has more colorful
Oh yeah.
use. So like that's got.
Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at all those color changes. Yeah, see, that scares me. That
No,
scares
goodness.
me.
And this is
Wow.
brioche. Actually, he put some brioche in there, right there at the in that
Wow.
one little section right
Wow.
there.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. It's Stephen West. This was his mystery knit along for last year in October. But
Look at you, KB. You guys, you're just like her too.
yeah, Stephen West. Yeah, it was an interesting design. I think I did Slipstravaganza the year before, and I want to make another one of those because I think that's my favorite one of his designs. This one was a little bit interesting. It has these little, I don't know what these are, little shrimp type I-cord things, so they're a little bit different.
Wow. Look at
It
that.
was kind of interesting, but never had done that before. He kind of likes to stretch your imagination with his little
Mm-hmm.
designs. But anyway, so yeah, I have done. This was 5 different colors.
Mm.
So, but uh, I think for lace, it's better to do to do a single color, but so it's not a lot of color work with the
Yeah, because you
lace.
want
I
to
think
see the stitching. You want to see the
right.
stitch work.
Right, exactly. But you can have color work around it and stuff. So
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I saw
thank you.
Amber pop in. Hey, Amber. And hey, Mrs. Debbie. Thank
And
you for joining
Colleen,
us.
she's saying gotta love Stephen West. Yes, I do love Stephen West stuff. I the first time I knitted him was 2 years the Slipstravaganza. So 2 years ago, that was the first time I'd ever done one of his shawls, and so I did that one last year. But I do love his work. He's very. I love to just listen to him on his videos because he's so. He's like, if your stitch counts off, just add a couple of extra stitches in there. Don't worry about
Oh,
it. Just keep
that's
going.
nice.
Yeah, it's just like just add them in there. Don't worry about it. It's
Because that's
okay.
one thing that I find with crochet, I can fudge it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not a good crocheter by any stretch of the imagination. It's still very utilitarian, very very simple projects. But with knit, I feel like everything has to be perfect.
Well, for some things, yeah, for some lace patterns, it does need to line up correctly. Like the last two Rami heels, it needed to line up
Oh yeah,
exactly.
with all that.
But
Yeah.
I think for Stephen West stuff, like he's saying, some of the things it's like it can. I mean, now slip extravaganza, I do remember some of the things had to line up because you had certain stitches you would slip in certain colors, and it made these lines that came across
Mm-hmm.
it, kind of like a
Whoa.
stained glass. But
Yeah.
uh, but this one, it was more or less, this was kind of like you got rows of stuff, so you could have,
Mm-hmm.
your stitch counts off, and
Mm-hmm.
it would be okay. But like this part here, you probably would want it to line up
Oh
when you
yeah, has to be
have these
perfect.
little color works triangles. If I
Mm-hmm.
can turn this right, the
I
little
just
triangle to
saw,
do.
what did they call it? I just saw that yesterday in a tutorial. I get this stitch a day knit thing, and I go, "Oh, that's
Oh
pretty." Move on. We're trying.
yeah, I like that guy. I like his little tutorials. They're
Mhm.
good.
This is knitology or something like that. They're beautiful stitches,
Hmm.
and I have to remember it's just like in crochet. It's you can't look at the whole project. It's one stitch at a time, and don't be afraid of it. It's just yarn. It's just yarn, people.
Exactly, and you can frog it. I mean, I think that's
Yep.
kind of that mentality. I mean, we were talking before the show. Is like I just jumped in with both feet into the deep end. I started doing. I mean, I did it without realizing how hard it might be. I'm going to do lace. I'm going to do it now, and I'm stubborn, so I just did it. So just yeah, if you make a mistake, rip it and start over.
Hmm.
Just start over. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it feels like it if you put a lot of time into it, but you do learn a lot when you make
Hmm.
mistakes. I've learned more from my mistakes than I have from when I haven't had them.
Hmm.
I've always, oh, don't do that again. Or, oh, I need
Yeah.
to put a lifeline in here because this looks a little bit complicated, you
Yeah.
know.
Um, it just when you said that, it just reminded me of the old Reba song. What is that song? There's a life out there, and she said in her video, she said, "I learned more from the messes than I did from the class." And
Yeah.
you remember that. You remember that when you
Oh
make a
yeah.
mistake and have to tear out a whole day's worth of work.
I've had to rip 40 rows one time. I
Yeah.
did a shawl, and I was like, it was a mystery thing. And so I got the next clue, and I thought, I wasn't sure what it's supposed to look like. So I
Mhm.
just thought,
Right.
I'm moving along, and I thought these rows seemed similar. What happened was I didn't have my pages numbered. I couldn't see the numbers on them. So I just did the second clue twice. So I was like, these seem familiar, but maybe it's just supposed to look like that, be a big. And then I got to putting my pages in order, and I was like, oh, I did that twice. I had to rip 40 rows of lace and
Mm.
beads and
Oh.
start over. Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, I learned a lot from that process, and I
Mhm.
learned how to, rip it and then put it back together. I
Picking
had to kind of put it back
stitches back
together.
up. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing. You've got to pick your stitches up right, because if it's the wrong direction, and I don't know which the right direction is to pick up my stitch, knitting is so much more
No,
complex.
it's not. It's not. It's the same
Very.
basis. You start with a row, you do all this stuff in the middle, and you finish it up. It's the same thing.
Then you wrap it around you.
Yeah,
Try
yeah,
to
you're
keep the
done.
dog from tearing it up.
It's the
Um,
same process.
Even little things like this. This is just my temperature blanket that I made.
Ooh, that's
And
pretty.
I love the way it turned out. And it is just, but you know what I am finding that's really irritating me? Oh, I'm finding now it needs to be washed, is what I'm finding. But all these little ends are popping out. And
Oh no.
I tucked in every one of these ends, let me tell you. And I think it's this yarn is they're just working your and I keep thinking, if I had given this to somebody as a gift and then all those ends popped out, that's so it just it frustrates me. And I don't know what to do about it. And for me, it doesn't matter. I don't care. But I've got a lot more of this yarn, and I'm like, man, if the ends are going to be like that, I'm not going to ever.
You know what I would do? This is what I do for like the lace stuff, just
Yeah.
because it's so thin and it can pop out. Is if it's plied, I split the plies. Like if
Hmm.
it's like a 4-ply, I'll split it into two, and I weave those 2 plies in one way, and I weave the other 2 plies in another way. So it kind of isn't so big
Oh.
that it'll slip out easier. It
Hmm.
makes a smaller amount that you got to do more, but I
That's
think it holds
oh
it
my
in
God, it's
better.
so necessary. I thought about that, Lorelai. I thought about using fabric glue um, on the ends. And I actually saw somebody with acrylic. She actually used a hot match and
Mm.
seared the end shut. But I
Wow.
don't think that's not going to keep it from coming undone like like that. I mean, it's
Hmm.
where I have woven it in to the fabric, it is weaving its way back out.
I would do it. I would split it. Like, see how it's
Yeah.
already coming unraveled. I would
Hmm.
just take those sections into
Yeah.
different directions, and maybe
Hmm.
because it's smaller, it won't pull out as easily. That's
Yeah.
that's what I do for my lace. Is I split it as much as I can, and um, like I said, you can 3 ends on one little small piece of yarn, but
Yeah.
it holds a little bit better.
Whatever. Yeah. Weaving in ends is not my favorite thing, but it's a necessary part, and it's got to be done right. Otherwise, you've got a project that, I mean, doesn't matter how much time I put into this project. If it feels like, and I know it isn't, but the feel is that it's coming apart, and it's very frustrating. And this is a blanket that, it's kind of an important blanket to me. And I made it out of a utilitarian yarn. And, it's the Michaels Loops and Thread. It's the house yarn for Michaels.
That's nice.
And so, because that was the only store available when, yeah, I do the same thing, KB. I go up and down and around as much, all over the place. And I use a piece like this long, so I really have a lot of room to work that
Hmm.
in.
Hmm.
I'm not just doing a tiny little bit. Bubble Bobble Beanie. That's hard even to say. You have to drop stitches.
Bobble bob bubble bob. I can't say it.
Bubble
Um,
Bobble Beanie.
Bubble bobble beanie. Drop 5 stitches. Oh yeah, that's so cool. Where you have to drop. It sounds like you drop stitches. Stephen West does that sometimes too, where you you intentionally, like, you're 5 stitches up and you drop the stitch and it catches it down 5 stitches below, and it creates, well, I don't think it was like this one. I would think it was on Slip Stravaganza, but it'll create like a little piece of fabric, kind of like this. Like she's talking about a little bobble, these little bobbles. It's maybe hard to see, but it's a little bobble that sticks out.
Wow.
But you can create a little piece of fabric by dropping stitches and catching it below, and it just makes a little
scary
blip in your material. A little bobble.
Yeah.
It's not scary. I mean, it is scary when you first do it, because you're like, I'm dropping this stitch, I hope it catches, and I don't have a big old mess, but it catches. You get the hang of it after you do it 50 times.
Yeah.
You know,
that is so funny. That is so funny. Yeah, and it's funny that almost everything you do is on that little thin. So is that all sock weight yarn usually that you use?
Yeah, mostly a lot. So I do a lot of sock and lace. Those are my two favorites, or sock and lace. I don't have a lot of worsted weight or like DK. Like this is unusual. This is a DK weight I'm using, but I don't have a lot of it. I'd say I think the biggest part's fingering sock weight. Yeah.
So is lace weight different then from sock weight? Is it lighter?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so like fingering weight's usually around like 100 grams. It's about 450 yards. So you do the math, but lace is usually about 100 grams is 800 yards. So you get a lot more. So it's a lot thinner.
That's why your work looks like spider webs.
They're exactly. It's very thin.
Very thin. So I was lucky enough to win one of your drawings one day, and you sent me that gorgeous purple, was it Cotton not King Cole.
I think it Cotton King Sultan Deluxe.
Yes. And there's that thin yarn, and I'm like, this is gorgeous. What am I going to do with it?
It's fingering weight, yeah.
That is fingering weight. So I'm hoping I can make a shawl out of that. I hope that's enough for a shawl. And so then I went online and found a sale and bought another one. It's different. And the colors are very similar, but the feel of the fabric is different. The feel of the yarn. I'm wondering if one is 100% and one was a blend. And
I think maybe, because I know their twister yarn that they sell is a blend.
That's what I got. I got the twister.
And the Cotton Kings is 100% cotton. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if, just like that shawl that you did where you've got all of it in one and then a different down there. I'm wondering if it would be okay to do that, if I can mix those two where I'm not intermixing them in the pattern, but then you just have two different kinds of feels there.
I do that all the time. I mean, the sock yarns have different materials, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you can do that. Absolutely. Even like this shawl. If I can pull it off of Claire. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And putting up with me being sick. I'm 1,000 times better than I was. Just still.
Sorry about that. I was about to topple her over. This blue part, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to see it. I don't even know why I did that. But this blue yarn, this blue is mohair. So it's a lace weight. And then these others are sock. So it's even a different weight that is in there.
Stunning. So you did that on circular needles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I started right here in the center. Like this is where I started, was right here at the very center of that flower. I'm trying to see where my camera is, but
nope, you can see it.
And then it just comes on out and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. This was just a big old circle shawl, pie shawl. It was very easy. This was so easy. Because it was just a lot of knit stitches and then easy color changes and stuff.
That's what I like, is easy color changes. So I was just trying to see. So those are definitely different skeins of yarn. Your color changes.
Yes. Yeah. I had a pink. That was a sock. That was a Madeline Tosh. Then that blue was a Knit Picks mohair. And then this was a different color yarn. This was a blue with a variegation.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And then I had a gold yarn.
So nice. And see, that's the other problem I have, is I'm not good with colors. And so this was such a stretch for me because all the different colors. But the point of this is the different colors, and it doesn't matter how they look. Although when I went to the store, I literally just picked out 14 colors and laid them out and said, I knew I wanted the purple family in the higher temperature ranges, because I knew we were going to spend a lot of time in Texas and Arizona, and those would be the things I used the most. And then I thought the blues and these colors for the cold, they just felt colder. And then the purple. Can you see
That's so
purple?
pretty. Yeah.
That's totally purple. That was the day my mom died, and purple's her favorite color. So I wanted to do a special color for that day. So
I think colors are hard to pick. I have a hard time with it too. I mean, I think I use I rely a lot on dyers to put things together. But
you showed me something. Sure, it was you.
I also use a lot of color wheels, and I also use a lot of black and white to get saturations. I'm not sure it was
me you had because you're always showing off the small dyers, and it was they called it a sock skein, and it had 2 different colors in the same skein. And I had never seen that before, and I'm just like, oh, they're picking out the colors for me already. I had never seen that before.
Like something like, hold on, I've got something over here.
Yeah, I'm just going to make you run a marathon today, chasing stuff. Look, she just got the shawls layered back there on Claire.
This is probably a bad example, but these came together. Like these came together, like that kind of a thing. I don't think these are really the greatest together, but
right.
they put them together.
I couldn't do that.
The dyer, it came like this, but yeah.
But I have seen, and then you work them up and they look amazing.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, well, I'm glad I trusted their
somebody that knows this stuff way more than me said this is gonna work. So I have a friend who's a just amazing artist, and she uses a lot of color in her. I don't want to say like bright colors, but a lot of different. She uses stippling, and so lots of different colors in her work. And I'm always going, okay, Karen, do these work? Can I use this color? What do I do? And she'll go, no, get rid of that. Okay, that one. And I rely on her a lot because I just don't have it. And I have a color wheel in my wish list, my Amazon wish list. So I think I'm going to need to spend the $8 and buy a color wheel.
I think it's helpful because there's times when I've looked at it and I'm like, what could I do with this? And I forget. I always try to think opposite, something for a pop of color. But there's a lot you can do with the colors that are side by side. Like when you do the blues, you got purples, and then you got, some other colors on I can't think of what they are, but you got the range on each side. Like you pick a color and you got like a green and a this one, blue green and light green and all these different greens that go with the blues and the blue greens, and they go like this green. I would have never picked this green right here to go, but it really does go very well with
perfect. It is perfect. And I'm not a green person, and I think that's wonderful. So do either of those people that you were talking about, do they have the Stephen and the Rami Hill? Do they have easy stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen West has
washcloth level knitters.
I think so. I don't know all of his patterns, but yeah, Rami has some washcloth stuff. But it might have a little bit of lace in there, but jump in.
That's what I want. I want to jump in. Yeah, I want to jump in.
I know she has a nice bathroom set of patterns, and I know that Stephen West has I'm not sure if washcloths, but maybe hats and simpler things. Yeah. I know
I feel confident to do hats.
There was a shawl that he just somebody just told me. I think it's called the Boneyard Shawl, and it's free, and it's Stephen West. Okay. You could look at that, and I think it's a simpler of his patterns. Somebody just sent me a picture of it. Why am I drawing a blank? Because I just saw it. but
I'll look that up.
Yeah, they all have to start somewhere, and start designing. You start simpler, I think, and then get more complicated with their stuff. But
Sure. And I think a lot of the designers, they have a range too of easier things to, because it's got to be fun for them also, or why do it? And that's the
right,
one thing. That is the one thing, even though you end up tearing stuff out, you have to enjoy the process, because the process is a whole lot more than the finished project.
right, right.
Sometimes, years you'll spend on some of these. Well, I would. You would not.
No, I'm not me. I would. I'm not a designer, but yeah, I've heard him interview, like Stephen West interview before, where he, like, for his mystery knit alongs, he swatches all the time. He sees stuff and him like, I'm gonna make a swatch of that, and he makes all these different swatches, and then he tries to figure out, can he put them together in a way to make something like this? What is he gonna put together to make some? Oh, I got it back, but to make it something creative like this. And
Yeah.
he eventually, something comes out of it. And, but he does a lot of that throughout the year, and or undoes it, and sketching, and or taking pictures. You see something that's like, that's a cool, interesting design. Can I make something knitted like that? So he's doing that all the time too. And I've kind of seen too that, they build on each kind of their process. Like, when he did Slipstravaganza, he created a lot of different things out of that. A sweater design came out of it. Then there was a hat that came out of it. Just a different variation. And he created 2 different shawls, like Hybrid Knit Along. The first one was from Slipstravaganza. He created that. Oh, I can't think of the name of it, but I knitted it. It had all those diamonds in it. And then so that was one shawl, and then he created a second shawl, which was the woven chevrons, which was the border. So he takes a lot. Like, he might take one design and then make it into 6 different designs that he sells later on. So it's kind of interesting how they can adapt different parts of it,
yeah,
to a different project and make something beautiful.
And they are beautiful. Doing a trellis. Debbie Loves Yarn's doing a trellis now. Is that a shawl, a specific shawl
Yeah,
name?
the cable trellis shawl. That's from the Hybrid Knit Along from this year. Yeah, that's beautiful. It looks a lot like Slipstravaganza because it's got those lines that come across it, like a stained glass. It has those
Yeah, that's the one we're
crisscross
talking about.
lines that
Oh
come
yeah, I
across
can
it.
see how that would be called a trellis. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I did that one. I don't have it. I gave it to a friend, but it was a lot of fun, and it's a lot of slip stitch color work. It was really not that hard to do. It looks complicated because of those lines you got going across it, but it was a lot of fun. And the yarn that you pick has to be kind of variegated, and it does a lot of the work for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it just shows that the yarn you pick is as important as the pattern that you're picking. They really have to complement each other.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
So like that circular shawl there, your easy circular shawl there. How long would you say that took you?
Couple weeks. I mean, it wasn't that long. I'd have to look it up in Ravelry, but it wasn't that long. It went so fast. It was so fast. Seriously, it was like, this is the kind of knitting you can do while you're watching something on TV or listening to something. It wasn't like I said, it was a lot of knit stitches. There, every once in a while you had a row where there was some lace, but a lot of it was just change the color, knit it all the way around. Knit it all the way around again. Knit it all the way around again. So it looks.
When you start something like that in the round on cable needles, obviously you're going to need huge needles. Do you start with a smaller cable and then switch out to bigger ones?
Yeah, this one I started with a DPN.
Tiny ones and then switch.
Well, there's DPNs. I started with DPNs on this one because it's so little.
Yeah,
and then it grows, and you have to it has to be smaller than your knitting, or you're going to stretch it. So you just figure out, you kind of measure it up. Can I switch to the cable needle now? And eventually you get to a point where you can switch to it. But yeah, I think I used DPNs, probably 24-inch for a while. I got it to the point for 24-inch, and then I used that for a while. and probably went to a 40-inch and then ended up with a 60-inch.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched them several times on this one. I'm sure. I'm not remembering, but it's probably what I did.
You're making me want to try it. You're making me want to give it a go because I can knit. I mean, the basic knit stitch. I can purl, and that's it.
Well, this is a lot of knitting. This is a lot. There now. Don't get me wrong. There are some parts, like you can see, there are some yarn overs in here.
Yeah,
and you can see there's some yarn overs in there. There are some sections with lace and some decreases, like right in here. But there's a lot of knitting. There's a lot of knitting. And not purling, not purling.
Yeah. So then you post most of your stuff on Ravelry, your different projects that you worked on?
Most of the time. And like I said, it helps me keep organized. The projects, I try to be really good about the yarn usage. Like I weigh my yarn, I put it on a scale, and I try to put that in there just if it can help somebody. And it also, I mean, it's like a documentation for me to go back later. If I want to make something again, I don't make a lot of the same things twice, but I just made 2 of those Romney Hill shawls, and I've actually done Romney Hill shawls, like 3 of them 2 times. So sometimes I will, it's helpful to know exactly what I did and, how much yarn I used, but I do it in Ravelry, and not so much handwritten notes, although I do like to do a printed pattern, and I will write on it, and I save those. So
yeah. Debbie's asking if you knit continental or English or throw.
She knows this. I throw. I'm an English knitter. I don't knit continental. I wish I did. I'm trying.
Really?
Yeah, because I think I can hold the yarn in my left hand from crocheting. That's comfortable.
That's what I do.
It's just I've got to get my purl better, and I did that video recently where I did the Norwegian purl, which is a lot easier for me to do than the continental purl. So I just need to practice it some more. So I'm hoping I can switch. I can knit stitch continental all day long, and I can do the lace stitches pretty much. It's just the purl stitch that throws me with the continental. So that's why I always go back to the English style.
And maybe that's why I have to always look and see what it is how I'm supposed to throw my yarn, because I do knit continental. I hold in my left hand, I hold my yarn in my left hand, and my finished work is on the right side. And so I'm doing this. And I don't pick it up with the end of and boy, I see those people that can do that. And it's like, they're like a machine.
That's exactly why I want to be able to do both too. Because if you got more color work, you can hold one color
in both hands.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I kind of was doing when I did that thing of Connie's. I'm like, it's just easier if I keep this, and I'm ambidextrous. So I started learning to knit left-handed, and I went to take a knitting class, and this old German lady she owned the yarn shop, and she was the knit teacher, and she did not like left-handed. And she actually kicked me out of the class because I was left-handed. Left-handed people do not deserve to knit.
Leave me. My goodness. Yikes.
And I left her class, and I never went back. And I didn't knit for a long, long time. And then somehow, hey, Charm Grammy, somehow I picked up the continental. And to me, it felt like I was knitting left-handed, but it was not. It was still right-handed knitting. And I think that's the reason, I'm sure that's the reason that somebody somewhere showed me how to do that. And Debbie loves yarn. Yeah. And so did you mirror her then? Did you mirror her when you learned? It's so much easier. Right-handed. The one thing that does happen if you knit left-handed, like a cable pattern, your cable will turn out on the other side. Stuff like that. So there's definitely some problems with it. Because my mom knit left-handed, and she wasn't a good knitter. She was just learning same time I was. She got farther with it than I did. I gave up. I was struggling and gave up. But so yeah, I've done 2 things to knit 3. I knit 3 things this year. I knit a washcloth and 2 hats. And of course, then, hey, I'm ready to make a blanket. So started that knitted blanket. And like everything else, with everything going on around here, it makes me insane. It's like I'm supposed to be doing this Finish It Friday videos where I show you my progress is finding my yarn. That's my progress this week, is finding where I put the yarn for this project.
Yeah.
So there is just none. I was spoiled in Texas when I could crochet for 6-8 hours a day and just whip stuff out. And even then I wasn't whipping anything out. I was just starting lots of projects. Now you mentioned that you sold some of your yarn on Ravelry. How did you do that?
Oh, it's easy. You know, in Ravelry you can you can put stuff in your stash.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a drop down. There's a drop down on up there at the right where your stash. Like if you open your yarn at the specific yarn you have in your stash,
mm-hmm.
and there's a drop down and it says will sell or trade. And
I've seen that.
If you pick the will sell or trade, it will put it at the front of when the yarns are stashed in the yarn stash.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put your price down in the notes. People look for that. Looking for those specific yarns. Will go and look and then see. These people have it listed as will sell or trade.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a price? If you have a price, it makes it even easier because they're like, okay, I'm willing to pay that, and then they message you, and then you can usually do like PayPal or whatever, and send it to them. But
nice.
it highlights it at the front, and I've found it's a little bit easier. I mean, I have sold in Facebook destash groups before too, but I think the Ravelry group, it makes it a little less bargaining to get the price down.
Yeah.
You know,
people already know the value.
Yeah, so the transaction seems to be a little bit easier and not so much. I'm not going to pay that. Will you take such and such for that yarn, and throw in shipping?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I had made a last Christmas for one of my granddaughters. I had made her a full length cape, and I had thought I had bought plenty of this one specialty yarn, which I found out after the fact was discontinued, and I searched the world over for a few more skeins of this yarn. And Lori, that's what I was just saying. And I had gone on to Ravelry and looked up this yarn, and it's a premier yarn, but it has a sequins in it. And it really worked up well. I was surprised how easy it was to work up, and how easy it was to frog. But I went on there hoping to find some more of this yarn. And it gave me locations of where to go look for it. And on Ravelry, it was so helpful. It's like this company and this place and this yarn store. So I bought from 4 or 5 places all over the country, a skein here and 2 skeins there. And now I have like 4 skeins of it left over, which for me, other than maybe a shawl, yeah, that I can see how that would be really used. And I have seen a few times where I've seen somebody will show that they've got this in their stash. I'm like, I wonder if they'd sell that. I wonder if there's any way to contact, because just because I wasn't interested in selling it a year ago, maybe now I am.
Well, there's a way, like too, when they have it, you click on their yarn and their stash, and it says send a message. It'll it'll link the yarn, and you just, how you can message in Ravelry. You just send a message. It has the yarn as the title, and then you can say, do you still have this? Are you still interested in selling it?
Would you be interested in selling it? Yeah, I love that idea, because I have some yarns here that I bought that I know I'm going to be selling. And I thought that might be a good place to do it. I just didn't know how to go about it.
Definitely. You just, put it in there, mark it as will sell or trade. And you could even have, some people have even like policies about how to do it. I'm going to only do PayPal. I ship on these certain days. I'm only going to ship to the US, or, you can define it all as well. And just so that makes everything just flow really easy and fast.
I'm going to be doing that. Yeah, Lori, you just type in, you can type in a brand of yarn, a specific, like, I could literally type in this Alaska Yarn Company whatever. And it'll pop up everything that's in there. Or I can, if I'm looking for this color, I can type in that color and it'll pop it right up. I do that. I use that. That's the thing that I use Ravelry for almost every day. Almost every day I'm in there because I'm looking up to see what can I do with this yarn? How much yarn of this, if I'm going to buy it, how much do I need? And how does it work up? And I do the same thing with patterns. Somebody told me a trick one time was don't be the first one to buy a pattern from a new design, because even though they have probably had it worked up from people, they've probably tested it, not necessarily. And a lot of times people who test patterns are good at reading patterns. I am not. And so it has to be very, I want to say very well written, and very standard written. And so I want to see how this is going to work up. And I want to see that 20 or 30 people have made it, not 4 of your friends who can ask you, hey, what am I supposed to be doing here? Oh, okay. So that's what I like about the information that's available on Ravelry. I look at patterns there before I ever buy or start a pattern. I look at it on there if possible.
And I, like you said too, you can see how the yarn will work out as well, especially if it's variegated. You don't know how it's going to pool, or if it's going to how the yarn changes are. And there's you can look at the projects that have been used for that yarn as well. I like to do that, and sometimes it makes me want to make some of those projects that I see. I'm like, oh, that looks really great. I wish, I'm going to put that on my list.
Oh yeah, the never-ending list. That's what Ravelry is, my never-ending list.
Exactly.
I also have learned that yarn looks different when it's knit or when it's crocheted. And I have found that there are yarns that are made specific for crochet. And it's always assumed it's going to work up in a knit, but they don't always work up in crochet, which you wouldn't think it'd make any difference, but it really, really does.
Oh yeah, there are. I have a story. Well, not a story, but my mom wanted me to make her something. Or no, she wanted me to repair something that she bought. She bought it at her church. It's kind of odd, but it has like a little craft store off to the side at her church, and she bought this little wrap, and these loops kept pulling out like just really weird ways. It wouldn't go back. It was knitted. It wouldn't go back into they would just hang out. And I looked up the yarn and figured out what it was, and it says, I kind of read through a bunch of projects, and it said this yarn does not knit up well because it has these little loops that come out.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of like a velvet it felt velvety, kind of like those blanket yarns.
Yeah.
But it's not those blanket yarns, but it was one of those. And it said a lot of people had tried something with it and said these little loops come out and do not go back in, and it will be. So I told her, I said, you just need to return it and get your money back. I can't fix it.
Yeah, pick out.
I told her I'd make her one in a different yarn if she really wanted something like that. But
yeah, KB, I give mad props to designers. There's no way I could ever do it. And what I'm saying is I am not a good knitter, so you have to hold my hand in a pattern. Even a lot of the crochet patterns, you have to hold my hand. I have to see exactly where you want me to put that hook, because it makes a difference in some of the trickier stitches. It makes a huge difference. Like the star stitch. If you don't have your hook in the right little loop to begin with, I find crochet is much more forgiving than knitting, but there are some stitches that do it right or don't do it, because it ain't going to work.
Right. It won't look right.
Right. And, that's why, and that's why you have the different levels of, beginning, intermediate. I find most of the times when I see an intermediate pattern, I get scared and I'm like, okay, I just read through the stitch list. Oh, I know how to do all those. Okay, I can do this. Right. But I also know, just like anything else, you've got favorite designers. You've got favorite yarns, you've got favorite patterns. There's a couple of things I always look for in a pattern, and one of them is I want to know how many stitches at the end of every row should I have, because if I have messed this up on this row, I want to know now, not 3 rows from now or 5 rows from now, when I'm doing a different stitch, and now it's not going to work because I had the wrong numbers count up here. It's all about my mistakes and how to keep my mistakes from ruining your project, because I don't want to then go say her patterns aren't well written or her patterns aren't any good, because it's me. It's whenever there's a problem with it, it's me for sure. So I know the things I have to look for in order for me to be not confident, in order for me to be successful in making something. So there's just a couple things I always look for. And I really love the comments that it was like one lady said, and I don't even know which pattern it was, but something I was half thinking about a knit one. And she's like, a decrease to the purlwise instead of the knitwise would have made the thing more stable in this step. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what that means, but it's nice to know.
Yeah, those notes really, really do help a lot. And I think once you start using charts too, that helps with the stitch count thing, because you don't have to have a stitch count. You can always count the stitches on your chart, and you can just make sure you got the right number based on that. When you get to that point, and you will, that'll help you with that. You don't have to have them have it written down. You can, I have to have these many stitches, do that section this many times, do the math. Yep, I have all that. And you start counting in little sections based on your chart sections, and then you got it. And plus everything's lining up appropriately as well. So
and then there's Debbie, who obviously doesn't like charts.
Oh, I'm sorry, Debbie. I love them. I prefer them, but.
And the one thing that concerns me with words, and because I've seen this happen multiple times, is typos.
Yeah, exactly.
A typo is in there, one thing gets missed, and yeah, absolutely. So everything has its advantages and disadvantages.
We're all different. That's why we like different things.
Different learning styles.
I get lost in the words of, like you said, I get lost in the things like this long. It's like I get lost in it. So that's why I like the little sections.
Thank God for sticky notes, right? Hey, have you ever used somebody on something somewhere, somebody something somewhere used something and it was like tape, but it was colored and you could see through it? I thought,
I have some.
This.
I have some. A friend of mine gave it to me.
Any of this? Hey, Sophie's outside. Oh, you must be out with her.
My friend, a friend of mine gave it to me. I haven't used it, but she gave it to me. It's highlighter tape.
So you just put that right over the top of your line or below your line or something, just to keep your place, and then you can pick it up and move it again. In my little brain, it's see-through sticky notes.
Exactly. And it keeps you on the right line.
Keeps you on the right line. Boy, do I need. Where do you get that?
She bought it for me and sent it to me. I think she just got it off of Amazon. Honestly,
I need some of that.
It's just this is a pack of 6. Yeah, I'm sure she just got it off of Amazon.
I'm gonna have to find that, because even with my little notes, even with a project this simple, you set it down, and this is it's a 2-row repeat. I've got 4 rows with my chicken scratch, and then I even write down repeat the last 2 rows. Sometimes I need just a sticky note on which one was I working on, which row am I actually working on. And so any little trick that we can use.
Yeah.
At the dollar store. Thank you, KB. My dollar store's up here. I don't know. Everybody gets all excited about the yarn at the dollar store. And I'm like, I've never seen yarn at the dollar store. Mine does not have it. And then the other day, I'll be danged if they didn't have one tiny little thing of yarn. But I'm looking at the yarn and I'm looking at the weight and I'm like, this isn't a good deal. This is a good deal if I only need a tiny little bit of one or two colors.
Right.
But it's a much better deal for me to buy a full size skein at a regular store.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, little things like that, I definitely like getting at the dollar store.
Oh,
Especially
absolutely.
that I don't know I'm actually going to use or not. You know what else? The other thing I want to buy, and I bought one, and I had it in this house, and I cannot find it anywhere. One of those things that you do the wraps per inch to
Oh,
see,
yeah.
to check your yarn, because I have a lot of times when I buy mystery boxes, it's unlabeled, and I can. And even if it's labeled, just because it says 4 doesn't mean it's 4, and doesn't mean it's going to match the gauge on
Right.
something. So I like to know, because a lot of patterns will say wraps per inch, and to meet your gauge. And I've got to get one of those little thingies. So, and I have one, and it's in a little tiny purple envelope about this big.
That's funny. You know exactly what it looks like. You just can't find it.
I've moved things 8,000 times.
Right.
It's like I'm making this crochet along with Dana, and I grabbed this yarn for my base color, and it's pretty. It's just a basic Brava yarn, and I know what the box looks like that it's in, which used to be right there in the motor home, which I have now moved into the house, moved out of the living room, moved into the bedroom, and have restacked. It's either in the bedroom or out in the shop. And I'm almost out of that. I need more. And I've got about 30 skeins of it out there. So.
Yeah, you don't want to buy anymore. You've got 30 skeins of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the only thing I've got going for me is I know roughly, and I have written on the outside of the box, Brava. I did do that. So I just have to figure out which box it's actually in. I have a dog that wants to join. You want to come up, Joe? Come on.
Aw.
Joe, come over and say hi. There's Mr. Joe.
Aw, how cute. What a cutie patootie.
He's a border terrier.
Aw.
He's a little grumpy one.
Cute though.
He's got really, really, really bad teeth, and he needs to have them operated on. And I went in to get him operated on, and they're like, he has a heart problem. And so then we had to do a bunch of tests, and they've decided that his heart isn't strong enough to put him under to do the surgery for his teeth.
Oh no.
So, he's old and decrepit. He fits right in with the rest of us. So he's a little cranky sometimes. His teeth get to bothering him. And,
poor guy. That's sad.
Yeah. KB, I understand that. But when I'm choosing yarn for a pattern, I do know that the size of the yarn is important to meet, to work right for the pattern sometimes. If your yarn is too thin or too thick, and also to figure out how much yarn do I need.
Right.
So it's important for me to, like for instance, I have 5 skeins of unlabeled, beautiful yarn over here that I got. And just looking at it, I'm not sure if it's a 3 or a 4. So I need to do my WPI to figure out, to help figure out with that. I know. Oh, pencil works. I have heard that. Because you're just counting how much across you got. But the little WPI thing that I had slots, so I could just lay the yarn on it, because I'm the epitome of lazy. And I'm afraid, okay, if I wrap this, I'm going to wrap it too tight and it's going to make it not the right size, or I'm going to wrap it too loose. And I question everything that I do. Everything.
You just want to do it right.
I do. I want to do it right. And I want it to, when I buy a kit that comes with yarn, I don't want to run out of yarn because I made it too loose or too big. And if I'm making that's okay. I only do a gauge 2 times. If I'm using a kit, and if I'm making something wearable that actually has to fit.
Right.
I would assume with socks, I'm going to need to do a gauge, but maybe not, because you really aren't counting stitches. You're measuring. It's all based on measurement.
Right. You have to measure your feet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're hoping it fits. That's why I like the idea of the toe up better than the cuff down on, until I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like Miss Linda can do those in her sleep now. She just, okay, I'm going to do a set of socks today. She never has second sock syndrome.
No, she's very diligent about, her days are planned. She knows she's got her patterns all broken up into this month. I've got, if it's a big pattern, she's got like, I'm going to do this many rows this month.
Mm-hmm.
And or I'm going to make this socks this month, and she sticks to her schedule. She has, she's very diligent and organized about, even in her life, we're going to go walking on these days. I go see she goes sees her father on this day. So she's one of those people that plans it all out and sticks to it. And I think it helps her keep on track and get her stuff done, I get distracted.
Oh, easily, squirrel. But she, that's part of her professional background poking. Right. I'm a big list maker, and I make schedules all the time. Never stick to them.
Yeah, me too. I'm very forgiving with myself.
Well, like, oh well. It's like literally these few weeks since I've been back home is literally the first time in my entire life where I have not had a schedule I needed to keep. I need to get up at a certain time. I need to go to work. Because even when we were in Texas and we were doing the gate guarding, we were 24 hours. And at 6 o'clock, I needed to be up and get dressed and out there so that Mister could go to bed. And so, now I've got my 3 or 4 hours of quiet time, and I got to get up and down and up and down and up and down, but I'm sitting in one spot and I'm working. And here it's just like, and then of course we've had the movie.
You guys were at the border, right?
No, we were up by Pecos.
Okay.
So about 100 miles east of El Paso. Okay. Right? About 100 miles, a couple 100 miles, 150 miles, 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours. And then about 100 miles south of New Mexico, the New Mexico border. So up in that little corner.
Oh, I like that area. I love New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico is really, really pretty.
Yeah.
Where we were was not pretty at all. There was nothing. There was no things there. There was mesquite, which I thought mesquite were big, but these things were.
Yeah, bushes.
Dandelions bigger than the mesquite. Yeah. And it is everything is brown and dirty and dusty and windy and hot, and it was delightful. It was a delightful time.
Fun
My
memories.
boss texted me yesterday and said, "Hey, we've got some spots open." No, thank you. We'll not be coming back down there again. We have thought about it. I mean, the money was good, but we have thought about it. But it didn't take long to go. No.
Yeah.
No.
It's hard. I mean, you can do it for a little while, but I think it would be. I think my husband's like, we should live in an RV, and I'm like, I think it would be really hard. We're used to being spread out, and I'm like, if you can whittle your stuff down to fit into an RV, I would consider it. But I don't think you could. That's my excuse where I can say
very difficult. And there are people that literally they got rid of everything, and I feel like I got rid of everything, and I didn't. I probably got rid of 2/3 of my stuff, but I went from a 4,000 square foot house to an RV.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that's one of the reasons I'm buying so much stuff now. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're always." I got rid of all my craft stuff, all of it.
Yeah, and you're replenishing.
Yeah, I'm starting from scratch. And what I didn't get rid of has been in storage for a couple of years. So storage means Mr.'s daughter's garage. And a lot of it got mice in it, and I had to throw it away. A lot of it was fine. It's like I'd open one box and it'd be fine. I'd open the next box and it just smelled like garage, just like dirt and old and I can't tell you how many things I've had to wash and wash and wash just to get to smell normal again. And then some of my yarns didn't make it through. A lot of my yarn didn't make it through. I just didn't think about, and for one thing, I didn't realize how long it was going to be in storage. So I'm much more careful with how I store my yarn. None of it was good yarn. Because like I said, back then I didn't buy good yarn. I would never do that to my good yarn now.
Yeah.
But lady, we have been chatting for 2 hours.
Wow.
I can't believe anybody is still sitting here listening to us rattle on. It always amazes me that people listen to us rattle on. So I give my guests full credit for that because you are so interesting and it's so wonderful to learn about you and see all your
likewise
fantastic projects that you do. And you have given me encouragement that maybe I can figure this knitting stuff out.
You can always ask me questions, but you can do it.
I will. I absolutely will. Yeah, I got to get I want to finish this shawl. So I am a 15 project at a time crafter as well. Oh, thanks, Amber. It's funny because since we've been in the house and I've got so much chaos going on, it's kind of been calming for me to work on one project. And I think maybe once this chaos settles down a little bit, I'll be back to, because I know I've got those projects calling me and 2 or 3 of them I really, really want to get back to. And I know a couple are going to go by the wayside. Oh, thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. I'm sure.
Oh, that's sweet.
So sweet. I hope that some of the new folks that I've seen in here today, I hope that you will pop over and take a look at some of my other videos on my channel. And it'd be delightful if you decide to subscribe to us. And I'm sure you guys are all already subscribed to Gina. Everybody knows and loves Miss Gina. And you said you've got a big live on Saturday. Is that right?
Yes. I have Wendy. Her name is Wendy. She's the owner of Amanda Hope Yarns, and she's going to be on my channel. And I've knitted a lot of I've knitted 3 projects with her yarns. This was one of them. That's why I think I have it sitting out. This was some of her yarns, and she put the kit together that I bought the kit from her, and. But we're going to be talking about yarns, and anybody can ask questions. So come with questions if you are watching this and want to come and, what's her inspiration? Why did she start the yarn store? How does she dye yarn? Anything that you want to know about her. But she's actually a yarn dyer from East Texas. She's in Nacogdoches. And,
okay.
And I thought that was pretty cool because I grew up in East Texas. That's where I grew up in Longview. Anyway, when I found her, I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. And then I made some projects, and I really liked her yarn. But she's going to be doing a gift certificate giveaway. Like she's going to give some gift certificate to her store. So if people can come and want to participate in that, that would be fun. And I just hope that people can come and ask questions. Maybe they want to ask her or any yarn dyer, because the colors. How did they come up with all these gorgeous colors?
And put them together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
so what time is that going to be?
Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
10 Central. Okay. So same as today's show was then.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it probably will be an hour. I usually go like an hour on my shows.
I know. I couldn't believe. I looked up. I'm like, it's almost 2 hours.
I know. We've been having fun.
We have. I try to keep them at an hour. I start worrying about my guest. And usually they're like, oh no, this is great. We're doing fine.
I'm doing fine right now. I mean, I did hear a doorbell ring, and I told my husband, but he goes, I left to go get lunch. So we just let the doorbell ring. Yep. Hope it wasn't something important.
Yeah. Well, so everybody make sure that you pop over to her show on Saturday for that.
Thank you.
Then next week, my live is going to be on Monday, instead of Tuesday because, of course, our guest schedule is the most important. And so we're going to have Trish from the Purple Yarnivore, and she's
Ooh.
going to slap my hand for not being very far along on my May project.
She won't slap it very hard.
Not very
She'll
hard. She's a
understand. You've been
sweetheart.
sick too. It's not like, I mean, you went on
Oh,
vacation. That you don't need have to take your projects on vacation, and you've been sick, and you just moved. So, come on.
yeah, I
She's
know.
not
I
going to be
know.
upset with you for that. You can't help
Probably
that.
not. Probably not too much. Well, Gina, I can't wait to see what your next few projects look like, and I will be contacting you with questions. What do I do? What have I
Anytime.
done? More likely, what have I done? What do
Well,
I
if I
fix
can
this
figure it
time?
out, I mean, like I said, I'm not the world's most authoritative person, but if I'll help, I'll give it a go.
Good. Thank you. And thank you guys all so much for being here with us. I appreciate each and every one of you. I know how busy you are. And when you guys pop in and ask questions and visit with each other. Oh, Lori says her late husband was from Longview.
Oh, yeah, in Kilgore, yeah, that's exactly. I grew up there. I mean, I moved there when I was like 6, and I went to the same school system, graduated from the same high school, went, and lived there, and then I went off to college, and my mom moved, so I didn't really get to go back, but I have a lot of
Mm,
friends that still live in Longview, so that's small world. It's
small
cool.
world. Yeah. I was out when I first started YouTubing, I was surprised at how many of the people that I watched lived in Texas,
Hmm.
and how many creators are in Texas. And Texas is so big, and yet it seems like the community is very, very, very tight. So it's really nice.
It's actually grown. I mean, it's this most second most populated state,
Mhm.
behind California. So
Mm. Watch
it
this.
has
And it's
grown a
open.
lot,
Yeah, yeah.
a
When we
lot.
looked at buying a house down there, and we just couldn't find exactly what we were looking for. There was a lot of houses where it sounds funny to say this, there wasn't enough space, but the communities, the houses are very, very tight. You
They
don't get
are.
land. And not that I wanted land, but I'm used to a lot that's 150 feet wide, and you don't get
Right.
that down there. The lots are very small.
Not
So
the newer homes. No,
right.
you have to get some kind of older home
Hmm.
that's in an older
Older
community, or
community.
out a little more rural, maybe
Yes.
to get
Yeah.
the land around your
Mhm.
home.
And I didn't want a lot of land. I just wanted, half an acre. And we just
Right.
absolutely couldn't get it. So, and what we ended up with, we didn't get that either, but it's considered a double lot. So I don't have neighbors on 3 sides. I have a lady behind me, but it's like the back of my house and the back of her house. So it's basically, we feel like we're the only one here.
Yeah, that's
But there's room
nice.
for the RV. And that's the thing. I needed room for the RV and the truck and my car. And of course, then he picked up the 4-wheeler. So we
And then
have,
your yarn, you need to get a
and
yarn
my
shed.
yarn. Yeah. We actually brought in a shed here, and it's a 10 by 20 shed, and half of it's mine. And I did put yarn out there, although I don't want it out there, but I did put it out there until I'm going to have him build me a wall of shelves
Yeah.
in the bedroom, and that's where my yarn will go,
Oh,
because
that'll be nice.
I don't have space. I don't have space for it. So I still have yarn boxed up, stacked to the ceiling, in all over the place. So that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be until.
It'll get
Mhm.
there. It'll get there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can show us the whole process. That'll be
Mhm.
fascinating to see. So,
Yeah. Well, you guys saw the boxes stacked up, and you've seen me emptying them. So, all right, you guys, thank you so very, very much. And we'll see you on Saturday. You've got more between now and Saturday, don't you, though?
who, me?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess I have some other things coming out. Like today I have a video coming out, and I'm not trying to think what I have on my list. My brain's not working, but
Well,
I'm
it
sure
seems like
I
your
have a
stuff.
couple of giveaways too. Like my monthly giveaway will wrap
Mhm.
up tomorrow, and then I have my next giveaway for the next month will come out the next day. But I've already filmed that. I just have to do my live, or I
Mhm.
have to do a live portion to pick the winners. So I got to do
Okay.
that
Yeah.
tomorrow, and um,
Perfect.
yeah, that's really about it. Just wrapping those things up. I think most of my stuff is already filmed except for that live thing.
Yeah. A lot of work.
And then the live show. Yeah.
Yeah, the live. Okay, super. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, and good luck to everybody on the drawings for your giveaways.
Thank you.
We will see you guys. I don't know what I'm going to have this week. I've got a couple of things. I think I've got something ready to post today and something going to post tomorrow. And just muddle through, just get through this week. And then I think I feel once I get through this week that things will start being back.
You got to get to feeling better too. That'll help. That'll help.
I think you can tell I'm worn down. I'm worn down. So
I'm glad that you're better. I just hope you get to feeling better quickly, because I mean, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, you guys, we'll talk to you later. So if you don't see me responding on your videos these days, I'm watching them the best I can, but I'm way behind. And you know I love you, and you know I will get caught up at some point. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.